Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the game according to me. We're gonna go over this week the championship games, AFC and NFC, and then we're gonna talk about the head coaching vacancies when it comes down to the National Football League. All but one have been filled, and we'll go over the coaches, talk about them for a little bit, and then we'll end this wonderful podcast. So first was the NFC Championship game between the Buccaneers and the Packers. The Buccaneers get off to a great start, scoring first on the Green Bay Packers, and even at one point they had a lead going into halftime, big lead, thanks to a fourth down pass from Brady to Scotty Miller that not only kept the drive going, but it scored a touchdown, and it was just it was incredible to see. But Packers came back in the second half. But I think, when it comes down to it, they got 3 interceptions off of Tom Brady, and they didn't do much with those 3, particularly the 2 in the second half. That was almost like back-to-back interceptions, and at least on back-to-back drives. And the defense that Tampa Bay held and just couldn't do anything. It was in Rodgers' face all day. And sacking him, and it was kind of it was very impressive. I mean, really, now Green Bay was without their starting left tackle David BYTE, but still, the guy that was replacing him, like Aikman and Buck had said, they were he had been very good, in BYTE's place. So he was able to, or at least he should have been able to stand up to the pressure. He did falter a little bit from Barrett and JPP, and so and then when the Packers got down, they just couldn't seem to get back, in a chance. And then the one chance they had to get back, which what everybody has been talking about, is going down to the drive. They passed 3 times, and then they didn't go for it on 4th down. And I talked about this, and you can just go back to last week with a backup quarterback, game on the line. Andy Reid went for it on 4th down. Well, he had the lead, by the way. He could have punted it away, and nobody would have thought second of it. But he went for it, got the 1st down. Game was salted away. And here we are. We don't have a backup quarterback in Green Bay. This is Aaron Rodgers. And you're down 8. You're down 8. And you don't go for it. You kick a field goal in hopes that you could stop them and get the ball back. And it just didn't happen. Just didn't happen. We had a pass interference penalty, which was the right call. We had, or maybe holding would have been the call, whichever one. Maybe not necessarily pass interference. Maybe it would have been better for holding, but either way, it was a penalty call. And the Packers were left, with their hands in their hands. Buccaneers go out and win. Tom Brady goes to his 4th. He goes to his 10th Super Bowl. Amazing. Truly amazing what this guy has done. Several years ago, I did a video on YouTube because this was I forget which Super Bowl this was. I don't know if this was the Seahawk game where Brady came back to where they didn't run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, or if this was, I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure when it was, but this is shortly after one of those Super Bowls that Brady won, where they decided that he was the GOAT, and he was the greatest quarterback of all time. And I did a video on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AJTRIP20. Go to find it. that I did a video stating that Peyton Manning was a better quarterback than Tom Brady. And years later, as now Tom Brady's going to his 10th Super Bowl, looking for ring number 7. I still would tell you that Peyton Manning was the better football player. I will. There's no doubt about that. Peyton Manning, in my eyes, was the better quarterback. And the things I stated in that video still, for the most part, for a lot of them, stand up today. Now, I talked about a lot of stats in that video. Obviously, Peyton Manning from that time had retired, and he has Peyton Manning retired, and he has, and Brady and Breeze have surpassed him. So I think that I think this is the time when the time when we look at this and we just say, hey, Brady, greatest winner of all time, greatest champion, unbelievable what he's doing, especially at his age. What he's doing at his age, it's incredible. He's just not the GOAT. He's not the GOAT. He really isn't. And that is what it is. I will have to go back at some point and redo my top 10 quarterbacks video. I will have to do that because, without question, there's been some changes in the quarterbacks. Yes, there have been. So we will have to change some of those. But yeah, fantastic game by the Buccaneers, and just unfortunately for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they just can't get to it. A lot of Bears fans, I follow a lot of Bears on Twitter, Bears accounts, things like that. They come to the thing where they say Rex Grossman has a better record in championship games than Aaron Rodgers. Rex Grossman is 1-0. Aaron Rodgers is 1-4. So, but the thing is that they've been there 4 times. I would love to have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers to be going and go 1-4. I would love that. I would love to have a quarterback like Jim Kelly, to go 0-4. I was talking to some moron on Twitter, who said that, he didn't think Jim Kelly was a good quarterback because he went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost all 4. Then there was some nitwit on TikTok the other week. I may have said this last week, talking about Troy Aikman, and he wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback because he didn't have the stats, didn't live up to what his to his contemporaries and things like that. It's some idiotic, foolish takes, and some kind of idiotic takes when talking about the next game too. But unfortunately, just the Pack. I don't know how the Packers are going to make it to another Super Bowl. And I guess they're gonna play the Bears again in the championship game. That's the only way, because they can't even having a home playoff game. They couldn't get it done. And so now with the NFC team set, and by the way, I didn't even mention this. Tampa Bay will be the first team in history to play the Super Bowl at their home stadium. So that's interesting. Great feat. Let's see if they can win the Super Bowl at their home stadium. Before we do the AFC Championship game breakdown, let's have a programming note. Next week, we will go into deep detail. Well, not deep detail, but we will break down the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. I will give you my prediction and everything like that, and we will talk about some other things. We'll talk about the WWE Royal Rumble coming up this week. Once again, make sure you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AJTRIP20, to check out the to check out my predictions this weekend, this Saturday, or they will come down this Saturday, and also a video dropping this Friday, the top 10 matches at the Royal Rumble event. I think you will enjoy those 2 videos. So make sure, again, youtube.com/AJTRIP20. As for after the Super Bowl, I am more than likely I will have a rapid reaction to the Super Bowl on my YouTube channel once again. And the audio from that I will try to come into my podcast. And I will put it up into my podcast. So you will get so you can either watch the rapid reaction on my YouTube channel or come back here for the podcast. Come back to the podcast on the next Wednesday. It's 2 Wednesdays from now. So those are the programming notes. So that even though there's no games to talk about, we'll find some stuff to talk about. We break down the Super Bowl, Royal Rumble, Senior Bowl, a lot of other things to talk about. So maybe we get into some NBA stuff and everything like that. So we'll talk about all of that as we get into next week's, and then of course the week after, the Wednesday after the Super Bowl, the audio from the rapid reaction will be posted, and then we will see where we go from there. Now, the AFC Championship game was second on the docket. The Bills against the Chiefs. And the Bills, they jumped out to a great start. They get the ball first, went down, they kicked the field goal. But then off of after they traded punts, McCole Hardman muffed the punt. Buffalo got it, and they scored a touchdown. Missed the extra point. It was 9-0. And quickly, right after that, the Chiefs, like they always do, came back with 21 unanswered points like that. Yada. And they put it on the Chiefs. They had a field goal at the end of the half, trying to make it 21-12. But really, it was just, once they couldn't keep up with, because you have to answer touchdown for touchdown, score for score with the Chiefs. That's how it is. It's like that. And I thought Buffalo could do that because offensively, that's what they've done. Offensively, they've been able to put points on the board just as quick and just as effectively as the Chiefs had. The Chiefs did a great job of curtailing Josh Allen, in the pocket with the blitz. And Josh Allen got rattled. He wasn't expecting it. And one thing that Josh Allen is going to work on is that his escape plan, because he seems to escape always to the right, and that's what they were bringing the blitz. They were bringing the blitz to his right, so he couldn't go right. He had to go left, and sometimes they brought the blitz from the left as well, or he had to step up into the pocket and move out. And I think that's something that he's going to have to learn to do. He's going to have to learn that, because the teams are going to take that tape and next year, and they're going to bring blitzes from that right. Now, the teams are not going to be as good as the Chiefs, so he should be able to dissect it, and find and I'm sure in the off season they will come up with plays and hot routes and things like that for things like this. It's always been said, right, that wherever the blitz is coming from, that's where you go. So if the blitz is coming from the right, you should be looking at the right. There should be a hot route or something there, right? Or there should be a dump off or something like that. Same thing like in the middle. Someone should be coming across the middle. Someone, on the left, yada yada yada, right? That's what they always say. There's a space there. Since they're coming to you, that space is vacant. So I think Josh Allen, he will get better, and he'll learn from this because, again, like as I said, copycat league, these teams are going to do that to Josh Allen next year, and he's going to have to, also probably learn to step up in the pocket, and he already takes off. He already takes off a lot. So that's that, I also think something that the Bills need to do next year will need to get the get another running game. Now, they had Zach Moss and Devin Singletary are their running backs, but I think they need a guy. They need a guy that can, that can help Josh Allen out. I mentioned on TV maybe Najee Harris is the guy for them. Is the guy for Buffalo. Maybe it's Travis Etienne, but they need somebody who I think he also needs to be dynamic, right? He needs to be as much as dynamic as their passing game is. So, and Travis Etienne can catch the ball out of the backfield, so maybe not even think about it. Maybe that's Travis Etienne from Clemson. And the way think about running backs nowadays, he'll probably be there in the first round. Where they're picking. So it's so they need another running back to help Josh Allen out. I think Singletary and Moss did a good job this year, but their main source of the running game in the playoffs and pretty much down the line was Josh Allen. So yeah, but the Chiefs were just a juggernaut. Kelsey had 13 catches for over 100 yards. What's his face? He had Tyreek Hill had 10 catches for 100 yards. Mahomes told in effect that the concussion. We now know maybe it even wasn't a concussion. Maybe it was just the way he got hit. He was woozy. Jay Glazer said it was kind of like a chokeout thing. And so when you wake up from a chokeout, you're kind of woozy. It wasn't necessarily maybe a concussion or anything like that. So it was just. It's incredible to see. It's incredible to watch. I'm not going to get upset over the people that were saying that maybe Josh Allen was a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Because I think we all fall into it, and I know I do too. We all fall into the guy that stands in the pocket and and throws the ball down the field. And you look and you see Josh Allen, 6'5", 240, 250, whatever he is, and he stands in that pocket, you fall in love. The way he passes the ball, you fall in love. And you can't help but to fall in love with that. I know I have. So I can see why some people would say that. But I think Patrick, obviously, I think Patrick Mahomes proved that he's the best in the game. He's the best right now, and he could be the best of all time. As I just talked about Peyton Manning being the GOAT, I do think at some point Patrick Mahomes is going to surpass Peyton Manning as being the greatest of all time. Super Bowl victories are not, if he stays healthy. But the thing that I mentioned earlier was that after this victory by the Chiefs and going on to their second consecutive Super Bowl, trying to run it back, a lot of people on Twitter decided to think that Baker Mayfield was better than Josh Allen. Now, let me say this: Baker Mayfield, he played well coming down the stretch as well. Started off slow. When Beckham got injured, he seemed to start to play a little better, and we started to hear the things. Does playing with Odell Beckham make him, a worse quarterback? Things like that, and who knows about that? And Baker Mayfield, I think Baker Mayfield has shown that he is good enough to help the Browns win. Super Bowl. He's just going to be in front of, unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and even to another extent, Lamar Jackson are probably going to be in his way for the next, 15, 20 years. But he's going to be good enough to be able to get his Cleveland Browns constantly to the playoffs. I believe. I definitely believe that. You look at what Josh Allen did this year. You look at where he came from and what he's done. Most improved player. I don't think they don't have the most improved player in the NFL, but they have, but he would if he would win it if they did. And he was incredible. And he proved a lot of things. He proved that he can play the quarterback position from the best, right? The best to ever, the best to do it this year. He's an MVP candidate. Now, saying all that, Josh Allen also needs to do it next year. He needs to do it next year because you can't just, as we said with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. He totally regressed this year. That's without question. And Josh Allen can't have the regression that Lamar Jackson had. You can't do that. He's and that's not saying like stats like if he ends up with he had over 4,000 yards, he had 40 touchdowns, 30 some touchdowns, something like that. So like if he ends up next year with 28 touchdowns, unless he had 10 interceptions, let's say he has 28 touchdowns, let's say he has 12 interceptions, he has 2 more interceptions. The completion percentage was 69 right now. Let's just say maybe it went down to like 65, and he didn't throw for, he could do for 4,000 yards, but maybe he just broke 4,000. He wasn't the 4,500 that it was this year. Okay, yeah, that's a little regression, but you would probably be able to see that he still played well. Like this year, Lamar Jackson, you could just tell, like he had 36 touchdowns this year. How many passing touchdowns did he have this year? Did he have 12, 14? So it's so Josh Allen needs to do that next year, and he is a better quarterback right now than Baker Mayfield. So I think just because he lost to the Chiefs, he lost by more than what Baker Mayfield lost, does not mean Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Josh Allen. I think anybody who says that is a moron, and that's me being nice. You're a moron. Stop that. The Chiefs win. They're going on to the Super Bowl, and now it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buccaneers. It's going to be a wild Sunday, I think. I cannot wait for that. Okay, so before we get into these NFL head coaches things, let's just really quick. I talked about Lamar Jackson just a couple seconds ago. So I just pulled it up. Let's look at this real quick. Last year, his MVP season. 3,100 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Quarterback rating of 113.3, QBR of 83.0, and of course we know about the rush. He rushed for 1,000 yards. He rushed for 1,000 yards this year, but this year he completed 66% of his passes. This year he completed 64% of his passes, 2,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. A quarterback rating of 99.3 and QBR is 73.6. Now, I would say this: even though his stats are, it's almost virtually what I just talked about with Josh Allen, right? Like he regressed, but he didn't regress that much. A couple more interceptions, 10 less touchdowns, lesser quarterback rating, lesser QBR. All of these things, right? However, I also think if you watch these games, if you watch the first 10 games of the season, you can tell that he was not the MVP quarterback that he was, in the year before. That he had regressed. And then the last 6 games, he started to come back into more of the form in his play. But otherwise, it wasn't the same. And if you think about it, you look at when the loss to Tennessee, a quarterback rating of 74.8. Just won it. But then you look at the next 4 games that he won: 101, 115, 133, 111. You obviously see, and the points that they put up as well: 34, 47, 40, 27. Obviously, he actually became and played better. He was more efficient. He had he had a 70 completion percentage, a 77 completion percentage. You know, so obviously when it came down the street, he got better at it. And there was some talk about the offense. They need to be more explosive in the pass because they do focus. They do have more of a run oriented game. They have three, 4 running backs with Lamar himself included in that. To run the football. Once again, they led the league in rushing yards. But people are saying, including somebody from Hollywood Brown, the wide receiver for the Ravens, said we need to be more effective in the passing game, and I think that does need to do. He needs to be more effective from the pocket in the passing game. This Lamar Jackson, I think that would help him out so much because if he can be more effective, where they can pass the ball. He's averaging, almost, 20, attempts per game, 26 attempts per game. If you can take that into the low 30s, 30, 31, 32, he's good enough that he can complete 24, 25 of those, passes, get to 250, 260 yards, and then that helps up the running game even more. So, but that's and so that's my thing about Lamar Jackson and things like that. I didn't want to go back to that because I didn't, I just felt like I needed to, go more about that. But let's now transfer to the head coaches and who's new and who's and what's happening. We have the Eagles. Eagles surprisingly fired Doug Peterson, and they've hired Nick Sirianni, who was the offense coordinator for the Colts. So now we think about if what's going to happen in Philly. Is Carson Wentz going to be there? Are they going to go with Jalen Hurts? Are they going to keep both? Or are they going to get rid of one? So I think that's an interesting theory on what's going to happen there. We'll see what happens with that. I also think it's a good thing because I think Nick Sirianni now he did hire the offensive coordinator. He did go to the Chargers and get their offensive coordinator, or that was there in Anthony Lynn's squad. So I don't know if they're going to have the same thing, or if they're going to do another scheme, another playbook. If it's going to be similar, since Sirianni's under Frank Reich, who was under Doug Peterson, who was under Andy Reid. All each one is like this. It's the same thing. If you believe Madden, it's the West Coast, offense, the spread edition. But so we'll see what that has if they come up with a different type of offense for the Eagles. Detroit Lions, they got Dan Campbell, and he's already making headlines with that that press conference. We're gonna get up and we're gonna bite your kneecap, and then you're gonna hit us again, and we're gonna get your other kneecap, and then you knock us down again. We're gonna get up and take a chunk out of you, and whatever the hell he was talking about. But I think the big thing coming from this is that the Detroit Lions are moving away from Matthew Stafford. They're going to move away from Matthew Stafford. So this is going to be they're starting brand new, starting right over. This is a total rebuild in my eyes. So, so it was funny because You know, they were a pretty good team under Jim Caldwell. They got rid of Jim Caldwell because they thought he was the A to B guy, and they were trying to find somebody to take him from B to C. Well, excuse me. Now Patricia took him from B to negative A. It seems like. So it is a new rebuild for the Detroit Lions. They're gonna get rid of Matthew Stafford, and Dan Campbell's not a coach, and we'll see what happens. I think, and listen, just because they're starting a rumor doesn't mean that they're gonna be in hell for forever. Because they can, quickly, they got to pick, what's his face? Mel Kiper has them picking Justin Fields with the seventh pick overall. You do that, you draft Justin Fields, you get people, he's got talent around him with, Galladay and things like that. So you can quickly go from, being the last place team, to quickly being one of those, 6 and 7, 6 and 10, 7 and 9 teams, to then the next year, making a surprise jump into the playoffs. So, but it's a very underrated thing that we saw there with Dan Campbell. The Chargers, they hired Brandon Staley. He's the quarterback. He's the defensive coordinator of the Rams. Brandon Staley was also with Denver and also with the Chicago Bears. And he's a very he turned Leonard Floyd into a 6-7 sack guy into a 13 sack guy, whatever he was. So it's amazing. We'll see what he does with the Chargers. The Chargers obviously have Justin Herbert. They have great young talent there. They will be fighting for playoff spots for the next decade. I don't know if they're fighting for divisions because of Patrick Mahomes and what he does there. And I think Patrick Mahomes has that division, has that conference on lock for the next 15 years if he stays healthy. But it's gonna be interesting to see what the Chargers do, or how they go about their way in building around Justin Herbert. The Jacksonville Jaguars hired Urban Meyer. This is probably the one that's going to be, everyone's going to look at, because not only does Jacksonville Jaguars have the number one pick, they're probably going to take Trevor Lawrence. They've hired Urban Meyer from go to college to the pro, and what's going to go down in Jacksonville. He's going to have a lot of questions, right? Because he's one of these guys who takes, his health takes a lot out of him when he coaches. And so he's had to quit twice. Quit Florida and quit Ohio State because of his health. Because of the stuff that goes on with everything. And then there was obviously the stuff that went down with Ohio State. There was some issues there. I forget exactly what it was, but like the AD, I believe, got canned and everything like that. So then he stepped down. So it's just a lot of stuff happening with them. So Urban Meyer is going to have it's just going to be the biggest watch and what's going to happen with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The New York Jets, their coach is Robert Saleh, the defense coordinator for the 49ers. He's one of these guys that I think that he's going to be a good coach. He had he did what Dan Campbell was trying to do, except he did it much, much better. If you watch Robert Saleh's press conference, he was definitely talking about that we're going to have that toughness and things like that, but he did it in a way that made you think, okay, it's going to be. So we'll see. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Sam Darnold. Michael Kapler has just taken Devontae Smith, which I think anyway it goes, because if you're one of these people that says, hey, and never think less, they can still try to get into the Deshaun Watson's stakes. They can try to get into the Deshaun Watson and get Deshaun Watson. So never count out the New York Jets. We'll see where they go. I just don't want to say that the Jets are going, that Robert Saleh is going to build the Jets back up into a constant contender from the AFC East, because it just again it's the quarterback, and what does what do they have? Is Sam Darnold? Can Sam Darnold get, if they keep Sam Darnold, can he get better under Salah and whoever he brings in for the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach? And was Adam Gase just a total failure, or are they going to get Deshaun Watson, or are they going to draft a quarterback? So all questions and answers will be answered, obviously later on in the year. But right now, I like to hire Robert Saleh from the New York Jets. And then the final hiring is the Atlanta Falcons with Arthur Smith. He was the offensive coordinator for the past 2 seasons of the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans had that run game, but they also had a great effective passing game with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was one of the big surprises from the 2029 season, coming in for Marcus Mariota, and then ended up taking the Titans to the NFC Championship game of all places. So you look this year, he was fantastic. 65 completion percentage, 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, quarterback rating of 106, QBR of 78.4. He was fantastic this year, and that's one of the things I think that Baltimore can learn from Tennessee. Tennessee is a run-first offense. They're going to run the ball. Goddamn, Derrick Henry had 2,000 yards, so they're going to run the ball. But Ryan Tannehill is going to, do great things. And I think when you look at it, really, Ryan Tannehill was probably a better quarterback than we thought he was in Miami. He probably was. We just probably looked at him as he's it's Miami, and they've been in a piss hole for the longest time. So great things for Ryan Tannehill in the Tennessee Titans, and I think that Atlanta has some questions too. Are they going to keep Matt Ryan? Are they going to keep Julio Jones? Are they going to keep a lot of these guys that they already have, or are they going to just tear it down and rebuild from the start? They got a high pick. Will they take a quarterback? Again, Mel Kiper has them taking Zach Wilson, from BYU. So, are they going to be doing that? Are they going, are they going to keep, they're going to draft Zach, keep Matt Ryan, and have him learn under Matt Ryan, while trying to try to win and try to do all these other things. If they are going to do the run first offense, a lot of miles on Todd Gurley. Can he handle it? The other guy, the back, I don't know how good a running back he can be. He was okay. He had some good, good runs from I remember watching them. But they will need another running back probably as well if they're going to do that. So another team with a lot of questions that may or may not be able to be answered before the season starts. So, but the Atlanta Falcons are going to be another team to watch this season when it comes down later this year. And finally, the one job that is still open is the Houston Texans, and we know why. Because what are they going to do with Deshaun Watson? that's probably what they're doing now. They've interviewed some people and things like that, but they are and they may be waiting to get their hands on Eric Bieniemy. But all the talk from Chris Mortensen, from guys like Adam Schefter, are saying that no matter what happens, Deshaun Watson is not coming back to the Houston Texans. So then that asks the question is, why would any coach want to go there? Well, it's still a job opening, right? You're still going to get millions of dollars. You're going to get a pay raise, and you're going to be able to coach a team. Coach a team, and you may be able to build off what you've done this year. So it's good. I think that this is. We're going to find out very soon in the next 2 to 3 weeks what happens with Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Something's going to come out where they're going to hire their coach. I think obviously, and either sometime this week or next week, or obviously after the Super Bowl when they can hire Eric Bieniemy, and then shortly thereafter we're going to find out about Deshaun Watson, if not before. And then all of that will come into play, and we'll see what will happen. But it's going to be a roller coaster ride for a lot of fans in a lot of places that would love to have Deshaun Watson. We talked about, we say that Trevor Lawrence is going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got 2 first-round picks. They could, Urban Meyer, starting off hot with Deshaun Watson. Yes, please, right? Then we got the Jets, 2 first-round picks. Like I mentioned earlier, talked about Miami Dolphins of 2 first-round picks. And they also have Tua, so they can not only trade them their 2 first-round picks, they can also trade them Tua as well. So then you can come in with a young quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, and and build the offense around him. That's a good spot as well for the Texans. So, but Deshaun Watson can kind of choose where he wants to go because of his no trade clause. So he has to agree, waive his no trade clause to wherever. So he can. So if he says, if they say, hey, listen, we're trading you to Jacksonville, he can say, no, I don't want to go to Jacksonville. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there for whatever reason. Or hey, even if they say, hey, we're trading to Miami. No, I don't want to go there. I'm not a Miami guy. So it's I want to go to San Francisco. I want to play with Kyle Shanahan. Well, wait a minute, you don't have I don't care. I want to play with Kyle Shanahan. So it's a lot of things that they can do and he can do. So can't wait to see how this ends. Where Deshaun Watson will be at, who will be the coach for the Houston Texans, and everything in between. Reminder, next week we break down the Super Bowl. We talk about the WWE Royal Rumble. And we have talked about some other things probably going on in the sports world. We just had the Hall of Fame. We could talk about that. There's Major League Baseball. Talk about some NBA stuff. We'll see what happens next week. But there will be a show next week. Make sure you are here to get that. Wherever you find this podcast, come back, subscribe, do whatever you got to do to come back and get to it. Speaking of subscribing, if you go to anchor.fm and check the AJTRIP show, you can subscribe to my podcast, where you can support me by subscribing for 99 cents or $4.99 or $9.99. Just to say, hey, you know what? I like this podcast. I like listening to it. I like this guy. I'm gonna support him. Now you do get no perks. That is the bad thing. But this is just if you want to, help a brother out. But promise me, just the fact that you're listening is support enough. I appreciate that so much. The fact that you are even listening to this podcast. So, please, understand that I'm not trying to push you to do anything that you don't want to do. I know, and also we're in a pandemic, so you may not even if you wanted to do it, you may not can do it. I understand. Just keep listening. That's the best way to support me, and always sharing my podcast too. Make sure you always share it, on all the social medias. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is your boy AJTRIP signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.